Welcome to this week's edition of the Weightlifting Platform, where one of the laws of physical properties does not apply in that a pair of spring collars is considered to have no weight whatsoever. The Weightlifting Platform is brought to you by the Panamerican Weightlifting Federation. I'm your host, Richard Mason. On this week's show, when the Olympics debuted for women in Sydney over 20 years ago, she was the first weightlifter to live. She'll compete in Tokyo as well. We'll talk with Dika Tua about her journey. For our tip of the week, Venezuela's Ketomar Vallania will talk to us about rest, exercise, his goals, and his dreams. And for our regular feature, Good to Know, what happens if your snatch goes south in Tokyo? But first, here are the headlines. The International Weightlifting Constitutional Congress has called timeout. After a long session that saw a rejection to adopt the recommended constitution as a whole, the Congress started to discuss and vote on the parts. The anti-doping provisions passed with a strong majority. The discussions and varied opinions then bogged down business. The group decided to adjourn with a subsequent meeting to be held in the next few weeks to finish the job before the Games in Tokyo. The International Olympic Committee has repeatedly warned that Olympic exclusion is a real consequence if the federation doesn't address key issues. Those include giving athletes a stronger voice, elimination of corruption at the highest levels of the IWF, and cleaning up doping issues. No date has yet been set for Part 2 of the virtual Congress. Two people who were absent from the Congress were members of the executive board of the IWF until this week. Both Hasan Akis of Turkey and Nicu Vlad of Romania have stepped aside from their weightlifting governance roles after a report from the International Testing Agency tied them to cover-ups of positive doping cases in conjunction with former IWF President Dr. Thomas Ayan. In Akis's case, European Weightlifting Federation Vice President Maxim Agapitov will take his seat. It's unlikely that Vlad's seat will be backfilled, as new elections are scheduled for this fall. Both did not use the word step down, nor resign. Both stated they would step aside pending completion of the process. In Vlad's case, unless it's resolved soon in his favor, he won't be able to run again for his current role come this fall. With Akis, he was recently elected as president of the EWF and has years left on that term, so if a resolution comes down in his favor, he could step back in. A compromise has been reached that will allow some Colombian athletes to compete in Tokyo. 3 athletes from that South American nation had positive doping tests that they appealed, stating they were victims of tainted meat. The appeal was rejected recently. The 3 positive cases then could have been led to an Olympic exclusion for Tokyo, but there were avenues of appeal, and that would take time, which would have impacted the 8 Colombian athletes and the 8 other athletes who could take their place at the last minute depending on when a decision came down. So the 2 sides agreed to drop all appeals. Colombia gets 3 spots in Tokyo. 5 others are being redistributed to other deserving athletes. The dates have been set for the Youth World Championships. Hosts Tashkent, Uzbekistan, and Jeddah, Saudi Arabia swapped junior and youth championships this year. Jeddah will now be the site of the best youth athletes in the weightlifting world, October 3rd to 12th. And those are today's headlines. Now, good to know. If you're unlucky enough to not have a successful snatch in most competitions, you just come back in the clean and jerk and do your best for that medal. Not so at the Olympics, as the Olympics only awards medals in the total. If an athlete fails to make a snatch, they can't get a total, so there's no point in continuing to compete. In fact, those athletes aren't even allowed to go back out on the platform for their final 3 lifts. And that is good to know. Now, time to talk. Dika Tua was 16 years old when she made history in Sydney, Australia. She was the first female athlete to lift at the Olympics, as she took the first attempt in the snatch at the first games where women were allowed. Since then, she started a family, mentored new athletes in Papua New Guinea, and will compete once again in the Olympic Games in a few weeks. Dika, welcome to the weightlifting platform. Now, first off, we always ask,
Thank you,
how
Richard.
did you first get started? How did you first get started in weightlifting?
Thank you, Richard, and thank you for having me on this program, weightlifting platform. I started at the age of 10, but I was also interested in other sports like netball, athletics, volleyball, and yeah, I used to play and also um, in the school events. So yeah, but I joined weightlifting because the weightlifting gym I was training in was just a house of mine. So every day after school, I would go and watch the pioneers of that weightlifting club, which is Hanuabara Weightlifting Club. And then, yeah, and also my auntie, my dad's sister, was also a weightlifter who started at that gym, at that club. So every time I would go and watch them, and that inspired me. And because I was very sporty, I would go and watch them train. And then late Douglas Mayer, who was my coach at that time, he saw that interest in me. And so he asked me if I wanted to start because I would not just sit around, but I would play around with the barbells and stuff. So he asked me if I wanted to join. And yeah, from there I started and yeah, ended up at the 2000 Olympic Games.
Now, let's talk about that. You earned the spot in Sydney. Now, I don't know because I wasn't as much around back then. How did one qualify for the first Olympics with women? Did you have to go to a lot of meets, a lot of travel, a lot of championships, that kind of thing? Or how did it work?
Um, well, it wasn't the same qualification system that we have right now. We had to travel. My first competition was at the Oceania Championships in Nauru, 2000, and when I went there to compete, it was the qualification event as well. So when we competed, our team qualified me to represent Papua New Guinea. So our team qualified, and I went. I went to yes as the representative from my team.
Fantastic. Now, you placed 10th in Sydney. You knew when you went out on that platform that you were the first woman on an Olympic weightlifting platform. Did it feel like there was history on your shoulders, or was it just something that was so new to you that you didn't necessarily know the whole breadth and width and weight that might actually be on you?
Yeah, well, it first time I didn't really see the importance and of the Olympic Games. I was so excited and overwhelmed, and but nervous at the same time because I was the first one going out on the platform on a big stage like that. I've never competed before in front of a crowd as such. You know, Australia is one of the countries that that are very very they're good followers, they're great followers of sports, and to come out on that stage, I felt really nervous. Yeah, so but then once I got the lift done, I came out, and yeah, it's sort of like
Then it's
got
just another
some of the
meet.
nerves out. Yes. Mm.
Well, the next Olympics, you must have they must have been happy with what you did at home, because the next Olympics, the Papua New Guinea asked you to carry the opening ceremony flag. What did that feel
Oh
like,
wow.
walking out into the stadium with your country's flag in front of you?
um Well, I was the flag bearer at the 2004 Olympic Games, but yeah, this is news to me. I didn't know that I was carrying the flag this time, but now that you've mentioned, and if I do walk out with the flag, it will be history in its making, and also it will be a honor and privilege to carry the flag in Tokyo. Yeah, that will be
Okay,
one
we
of the most
sorry, Dika, we
memorable.
might have had some communications issues with the internet or whatever. I was talking about you carrying the flag back in Athens. You might not have heard the
Yeah,
Athens
yeah.
part.
Oh, okay.
Um,
All right. Okay.
what was that like? Yeah, yeah. What was Athens like
Um,
carrying the flag?
oh, it was the same. Like, every Olympic Games has its unique experiences. And being the flag bearer at my second Olympic Games, it was something huge. Like, I never expected to carry the flag, but when I was appointed as the flag bearer, that was another experience for me. Even before walking out the stadium, I was so nervous, and I held on to my chef de mission, telling him that I was really nervous. Yeah. And he told me, just walk out, and once you are there, you'll have a great experience.
Now, 2008, your next Olympics. Seems like there's something weird, big, crazy happening to you at every Olympics. At 2008, you went out on the platform to lift as a new mom. How did that
Yeah.
have impact your ability to train and your and does tell me about what's it like lifting now as a mom?
Oh, well, in 2008, I had my baby, and like you said, coming out as a mom, it was very difficult to leave him at only 2 months old, back home with my parents, my partner, and my in-laws and my siblings, and for them to look after him. And because I was one of the scholarship, IOC scholarship holders, so Paul didn't waste any time for me to stay back home. He wanted me back at the institute as soon as possible, in order for me to qualify for the Olympic Games. So I was there, 9 months of being pregnant, and then 2 months later, after having the baby, I'm back into training, and high intensive training, high level training back in Samoa, where the institute, Oceania Institute, was. But stepping out.
Was at the time.
Sorry, 2008, we were in New Caledonia. So yeah,
Okay.
coming back into that preparation as a new mom. It was difficult because leaving my baby behind, and but um, I guess I made it through, and yeah, I made it to the Olympic Games, and yeah, being single and having a baby didn't make any difference on my lifting. It was just how I prepared myself. Yeah.
Now let's fast forward a couple of years. Let's go to Glasgow, and it's 2014. You place second, but then subsequent positive tests gave you gold. Does that How does that make you feel that you didn't get a chance to stand on the top of the podium with the bagpipes playing and then hearing the PNG anthem?
Well, it's very emotional because I did train very hard, and I knew I was winning the goal, but competing against people who are on drugs, and as an athlete, for attending my fifth Olympic Games, it's not fair. We talk about fair play, but um, to some athletes, I don't think it's fair because we miss out on that opportunity, standing on that podium and having our national anthem and our flag raised, at that moment, that magical moment. you've been long waiting for and training hard for. It wasn't fair on me, you know, and it's not just I've had another experience in 2018 which is similar, but due to when I followed up, they said it was an administrative error um, with regards to the gold medalist in the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games. So I'm still waiting, and hopefully something comes up with my gold medal at the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games. But to have missed out on two opportunities and prime moments, it is not fair on me, and I've missed out on that golden moment, standing on the podium at first place.
Now, I also looked at some of your results. Now, you didn't lift at all internationally in 2016, which would have been your fifth Olympics if you'd gone at that time. Were you hurt? Was this a first try at retirement? What was going on in your life about then?
I was training back home. I wasn't injured. I didn't think of retiring, but I went back to studies. I had to go back and do my studies, and because I had talked with my family about, because my sister Thelma Toa, who's also a weightlifter, was also in her prime moment. So I thought if I had pulled out that year and given her the chance to qualify, then she would have that opportunity to attend an Olympic Games. So I pulled back and I gave her that chance to try and qualify herself, or the team to qualify her. But unfortunately, Papua New Guinea didn't send a team to the Oceania Continental event in 2016 at our Oceania Championships in Fiji. So Thelma missed out, unfortunately, because I knew if I was there, I would have made it to my fifth Olympics, and this would have been sixth. Yeah, but
Hmm.
I was thinking of my sister, who started at a late age. So yeah, I thought I'd give her that chance. But
Wow, that's
as soon as when
that's
when
that's
yeah,
very
when she
nice.
missed out, yeah, when she missed out, I regretted making that choice, because she missed out, because I would have had that opportunity to go to Rio. But then I said to myself, why not give it another try? Maybe Tokyo 2020 will be there for me. So, yeah, that's what I did. I put back my job, my education, and my family behind, and I came back. For the last 2.5 years, maybe. Yeah, trying to qualify for the Tokyo, preparing for the Tokyo Olympic Games.
Now you have qualified. This will be the first female athlete ever to have gone to 5 weightlifting Olympics. Does that have any significance for you? Is it just another opportunity to lift on the biggest stage?
Yeah, it will be big, and it will be huge for me, especially in my country, and it will be something fabulous again, that I've done in my career, for my family, for my community, for my country, um, and for my weightlifting colleagues, and Paul especially, who has been with me for 20 years. He's coached me, and I've matured so much with him, and he's like a father to me. um, yeah, and yeah, this will be another yeah, and stepping onto that platform will be another, yeah, great history, yeah, done.
You can worry about history when you're retired. Don't worry about it now. Just keep doing what you're doing. Thanks, Dika. We're gonna put you. We're gonna do our fun segment on the clock. We'll do it next. Now, this is where we go through some fun questions to get to know you a little better. We got 60 seconds. We're going to ask a bunch of questions, some of them weightlifting related, some of them not. If you're ready, in 3, 2, 1. What is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie. Wow. I can't think of anything right now. Fast and
We can come back
Furious.
to it. There you go. Best thing about being from Papua New Guinea.
Wow. Well, I put the Papua New Guinea on the map.
There you go. Your favorite Olympics venue that you've lifted at?
Darling Harbour.
Okay. Do you want your children to be weightlifters?
It's not my choice, their choice, but my daughter's really interested, so I've bought her weightlifting boots.
Fantastic. We're already out of time. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. We very much appreciate it. Best of luck in Tokyo and beyond.
Thank you so much, Richard.
Take care. Now it's time for our tip of the week. Keto Marvainia is a 96-kilo athlete from Venezuela. He's been lifting on the international scene since he was a youth-aged competitor, and that was only 6 years ago. He makes his Olympic debut in a few weeks. He shares his views on rest, exercise, and others in our tip of the week.
Buenas, mi nombre es Kedo Marvainia, atleta de la Selección Nacional de Venezuela de levantamiento de pesas. Soy categoría 96 kilogramos. Bueno, mi consejo del día de hoy es que descansen mucho, respeten bastante el descanso, ya que es el que nos ayuda a poder concretar los entrenamientos de manera exitosa, cumplir una buena rutina de ejercicio que nos ayuda a fortalecer nuestro cuerpo para poder soportar las cargas, a alimentarnos bien, para poder tener una buena nutrición. Y también les quería dar un poquito de motivación debido a que sé que todo el mundo la necesita. Quiero decirles que nunca se rindan de sus sueños, siempre luchen, siempre sacrifíquense por lo que desean, luchen por ello, que todo esfuerzo es recompensado. Quiero decirles que también que todos los sueños se cumplen, solo deben luchar por ello. Muchas gracias.
Thanks for joining us for this week's edition of the Weightlifting Platform, brought to you by the Panamerican Weightlifting Federation. If you like what you see, you can bookmark us here on YouTube. Also, you can like the IWF on Facebook. You could tweet out to the IWF. It's IWFNET on Twitter. Thanks for joining us. I'm Richard Mason. Good lifting.